Hey guys, welcome. I'm Marcy, the Cranky Crafter. Today's Friday. How's your guys' Friday going? Are you ready for the weekend? I'm ready for the weekend. I thought that we could start a fun series called Fodder Friday, and just make any different kinds of fodder that we come up with. Today, I'm going to do some watercolor fodder. I'm going to use this. I think you guys see that? Yeah. It's watercolor paper. It's from Michael's. It's the Artist's Loft brand, 90 pound, and it's cold press. This is not 100% cotton. Again, since I'm going to be using it in my art journal or, just fun stuff, I'm not overly concerned about that. But something to note is that I'm choosing to use the 90 pound as opposed to like a traditional 140 pound because you can cut out the 90 pound easier than 140. So 90 pound is much thinner, and it just makes it easier to cut out the fodder once you have it all done and ready to go. So I'm just going to work right on my pad. You can tear it off if you want to, if that's easier for you. And I thought we would start with flowers. Big surprise, right? I take inspiration from a lot of my florals. Thought we could try this one. I take inspiration from a lot of my florals from Erin Bishop over at EB Mixed Media. She has a ton of YouTube videos on how she does so many different kinds of florals, and I love her work. And so while I will never be as talented as she, I do take inspiration from hers, and that's where I got this idea from to do them. I tend to do mine without the stems when I'm making them for fodder because I add the stems later, and I find that it's just easier also not to have to cut out stems. They can be a little bit, finicky. And then I will add the stems and the leaves both later. So sometimes I'll do like a whole sheet of flowers, and then maybe another time I'll do a whole sheet of leaves and then just cut them out and use them separately. Because that way I can just kind of mix and match and, do it how I would like to. So first thing, I'm going to use my spray bottle, and I already have a palette going that I had used previously. So you always want to activate your colors with some water. You don't have to use a spray bottle. You could use a dropper, you could use your paintbrush and just dip it in your water and use drops of water. I also have my palette, so I'm going to wet some of that just in case I want to draw from there. I'm not going to be overly specific on like colors, like as far as what I used and stuff like that, because it really is very open-ended and you can use any color you want, right? It's a flower. Flowers come in an infinite amount of colors and shapes and sizes. I have 2 jars of water over here. The theory is that you rinse the color off in one and then get most of it off, and then you rinse off in a clear jar. That's a great theory. And I start off strong, but most often I end up dipping in both of them midway through, and it's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. It just is, it might add a little bit of like residual color to your flowers or whatever it is that you're working on. It's okay. It's not a big deal. In fact, sometimes I think it makes it look quite cool because you don't always know what to expect. So I'm going to bring my, just to show you here a second. I have this yellowish color. And you kind of want it, or at least for me, how I like it, I think of like syrup, like maple syrup, if that makes sense. You can have it more water, less water, but you want it to have enough water that you're going to be able to move it along on the page. So we're going to start with this yellowy green color. And I'm just going to make kind of like a gumdrop shape. Like that. And then color it in, paint it in. And if you want to, now is the perfect time to drop a little bit of different color in. Oh my gosh, I have Ivy hair, my dog. Yeah, she sheds a tiny bit. So I'm grabbing a little bit of orange, and you can just kind of drop the color in if you want to. Or you could have just left it all yellow, or whatever color you chose for that part of your flower. So next we're going to do the petals. This will go very quickly once you see and get the hang of one. Then you kind of just get in this assembly line. Because I find that the faster we work, the less, it's like the less thought we put into it. So it kind of just becomes like muscle memory. You're not overthinking it as much, and I tend to be a huge overthinker. So I'm using a number 8 paintbrush. You could go bigger, you could go smaller. This is specifically a watercolor brush, but you don't have to have that. So you're going to start with like the point, and it doesn't have to be like super pointy like witch hat pointy, but you're going to start with a point, and then you're going to kind of press down into the belly. And if you don't have enough paint, see how that was quite dry? Just go back in and dip in your paint. Get a little bit more. You can make it as dark or as light as you want. That's the great thing about watercolor. And then you just do the same thing. Come in, do it again. If you want more color, dip in a little bit. I kind of make these middle petals a little bit longer than the side ones. And they can be wonky because you know what? Flowers are that way. And then I usually will come in and put a couple more smaller ones on the top. Like that. And you could leave it at 5. How about we just leave it at 5? And if you want to, as long as you have wet paint still, you can even come in with a little bit of, I'm using like a magenta color. But you could use any color that you want to add to it. That's it. And then I usually will make a sheet of them. You could, if you wanted to, make all the little gumdrop shapes first. But sometimes I find that I like to extend my petals up into the little gumball. It doesn't really look like a gumball. Gumdrop. I like to sometimes extend the petals up in there. because then it allows like some fun color movement. And then you just do it, same thing. And you'll notice when you do these little petal shapes, a lot of times you'll end up with more color down here and less up here. That's normal because it's like you're kind of dragging it. So just move it again with your brush. Move it back where you want it to be. You're in charge. You could do it how you want. See how it's kind of pooling right there? You can drag that color back up. And just kind of blend it in. The thing I love about watercolor the most is that it's magic. I think it's magic. Because you can do anything with the colors that you want. And if you wanted to, here, I'll just do another one here. Could just make smaller one because it's like, maybe this one looks kind of like it's in the background. See how I did that? Here, I'm gonna do it again. And just comes in there. And then you kind of get yellow in there if you want that too. And your purple can go up there. But if you don't like that, then don't let it touch when it's still wet. That's the trick. Make sure that it's completely dry. But I kind of like it. But I also feel like I want another one over here. Just trying to stay in. Like that. I don't know if we'll do a whole sheet of these because I'd like to be able to show you how I go in and outline, because the outline is really what brings the whole thing together. I mean, I suppose I could just use the dryer. If you wanted, you could make the center more orange. And then how about we go with like pink for the petals this time. I feel like if you go like this one, I didn't so much, but if you go longer in the front, I don't know, it kind of makes sense to me in my head, because then it's like the petals that are closer to you, maybe, or I could be making that all up. And once again, don't listen to me. And you can come in and make them bigger if you want. The trick is with watercolor is you can really manipulate it as much as you want as long as it's still wet. Once it's dry, you're gonna end up with a lot of different kind of like marks and blooms and striations and stuff, and you might not much like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you might not like it in your art. And this orange is still a tiny bit wet. I'll see what happens if we come in with a little bit of yellow. Yeah, it doesn't really, can't really see it too much. It is adding a little bit, but you can't really see it too much. So I also wanted to show you, this is using like traditional watercolors in pans, right? If you don't have those, don't feel obligated to go out and get any. If you happen to have watercolor pencils, you can do virtually the same thing. So these are Derwent ink tints, and they're water soluble, essentially colored pencils, but water soluble. And you can do the very same thing. You're going to start dry, just like you did these up here, but you're going to start just like you were drawing and color it in. And maybe you want a little bit of orange in there. And then let's go with this color, fuchsia. And then you're just going to make little petals. Okay, I'm no artist, so bear with me here. So the thing I love about watercolor is it's very forgiving. You can get things that look like they're supposed to look, even if they don't so much. So then color that in as well. You don't have to do the whole thing because you're going to be moving this color around. Okay. And then just go back in with your brush. Make sure that it's wet, not sopping, like run it on the side of your jar so that it's not dripping. But then you're just going to come in and move your color around. This specific brand is very vibrant. I love these. And then you come in and do your petals. And you can sometimes still have like the outline, if you can still see that, but it will eventually even out so that it's not as noticeable. If they all float together like that, not a big deal, because we're going to come in with a black pen and outline everything. And that kind of just helps bring it all together, even if they do end up touching like that. And you can use any color that you have in your stash. This is I think there's 12 colors in this one, but I know that they make different brands and, you know, different numbers of them and whatever. So that looks like a little baby one. Okay, let's go on. I can do a couple more, and then maybe these will be dry enough to outline. I feel like the outline is what brings it all together. Like if you see this, it's kind of when you embellish anything, it just adds more texture to it. I went to, I still have a couple more days of helping with the animals over at my friend's house. Went there this morning to feed the dogs and cats. Calling for the cats. Nothing. I mean, they're cats. It's not like, I don't have a ton of experience with cats, but I have found they kind of just do whatever they want. And so I'll call for them, and they sometimes will come and sometimes they won't. So this particular morning, I'm calling, nobody's coming. And so I'm trying to give them a little bit of time because, like I said before, one of the dogs will eat all of their food. if they don't get to it first. Still nothing. They're nowhere to be found. And then I look up out of the corner of my eye, and the cat's on the roof. The cat's supposed to be on the roof? I have no idea. He looks completely content up there. Not bothered in the least. So I just start a conversation with him, and I'm like, dude, if you don't come down here, you're not going to get any breakfast, because this big chocolate lab is totally going to eat all of your food. So I'm just telling you, just trying to give you a heads up. You're going to be out of luck. And he's just looking at me like, I don't have to do what you say. You're not the boss of me. And I'm not, clearly. So I'm like, you do you, boo. You don't want to come down? That's fine. So he just stayed up there. He was just laying up there and having a gay old time, wallowing all over the roof. So I'm assuming that he is going to know how to find his way down. And when he comes down, he's going to have to look for some mice, because he's not going to get any cat kibble until dinner. That'll teach him, won't it? No, he probably could care less. Do you guys like yogurt? I know some people, it's like a texture thing, like a sensory issue. I love yogurt. I have yogurt almost every single day. If you haven't tried this brand called Siggy's, am I even in? Sorry, hope you guys can still see. I suggest you try it. It's so good. I like the coconut one the best. It doesn't taste like coconut, really. It actually, I think they call it coconut because they add coconut cream to it. Not because it's like, makes you think that you're having a pina colada or something. Although I wouldn't know what that tastes like either, because I don't drink. But that's what I think of when I think of coconut. I'm like, pina colada. Why do I think of that? Because I've never even had one before in my life. Okay. Let's see. I think I'm going to pause you a sec and dry this, just so that they're all completely dry. I'll be back. Okay. I think those are pretty dry now. Are we still in frame? Yes. So I have this Statler. It's a 0.2. And it has paint on it. Big surprise. We'll try it. Hopefully it works. How about... Okay. Maybe it's not going to work. All right, fine. I'll use the next one up. 0.3. So, yeah. So now, I tend to do more of like a very loose hold on my pen when I do this, so that it's very organic. And it doesn't, see how that happens? It goes completely way over. That's okay. It's totally okay. Really, you're just gonna outline everything. I like it when it looks very shaky and loose like that. If you don't like that, then you can do it, you know, very, very controlled if you want. So I outlined all those, and then I'm going to come up here at the top of the petal and kind of just make these little like jagged squiggles. And then I'm going to do little lines here. And then up here, I kind of do this like thing like this. It really is just what you're feeling at the moment. And then I do dots. You could even come in and do dots with a bigger, you know, like paint pen if you wanted to. You don't have to use this small thing. And you just, that's what you do the whole time. And you can do each one different if you'd like. Or you can stay very much the same. And then also, how about we cut one out together? Because that's something else too, is if you get so far out like this and you're like, oh, I don't really like that, you can trim it up closer if you want. And maybe you'll like that better. But they all will, it's gonna look even completely more different, completely different when you cut them out, as opposed to having them on this whole white background. And if you want to, you could come in and do splatters on them. See, I still really like this with a even thinner pen line. But that pen was being difficult. I might have to see what's up with it when we're done. So yeah, I went to, what was I talking about before? Oh, yogurt. I don't know if you guys have a store near you called Fred Meyer. It's owned by like Kroger. But that's where I have to get it, my yogurt from. My usual store does not sell it. So I go in there every week and pick up, you know, a week's worth basically. And I was in there this last time and I went to the refrigerator section and they were out of the one that I like. And so I'm kind of just looking around like, maybe I'll see somebody, can ask them if they have any. And the guy, I've seen him before, that works, you know, in the dairy section. He comes up to me and he's like, are you looking for your coconut yogurt? And I'm thinking, what? How do you know I'm in here for coconut yogurt? That's weird. And he's like, we're all out. He's like, I can get you vanilla. All right, that's fine. I'll take the vanilla. I'm like, can you also get me a job, dude? Because I've applied numerous times online at this grocery store looking for a part-time job. And not once yet have I been offered an interview. He kind of just looked at me like I was nuts. Like he didn't just come out of nowhere and know what kind of yogurt I wanted. That's not nuts. But there we go. I think he thought I was joking. I really wasn't. If he got me a job, I'd be grateful. But what he did bring me out was vanilla yogurt, which, let's be honest, I also was grateful for. Okay, so a lot of times too, I'll come in with my gold Uniball Signo. Love this thing. And just kind of add some more. And you can do it however you want. You don't have to do that. But, okay, it adds a little bit sparkle, you know? Like it. You could even outline it all in gold. I've done that before. And it's equally beautiful. Whatever you like. Whatever you like. You think we should try to do some splatters? It's not wet at all now, so the splatters should really kind of stand up. What color should we do? How about this, like, teal, turquoisey color? I'm going to close my palette because I am known to make a huge mess when I do this. Again, you don't have to do this part. But I like a good splatter. And it never goes where I want it to. That's fine. All right. I think that's it. So I'm going to tear this off here. Move my booklet out of the way. And let's cut a couple. I know I just put splatters on and now I'm telling you I'm going to cut it. It's okay. It's okay. But first I'm going to do this because it helps a little bit if you don't have as much paper to work with. And I'm making a huge mess with the splatters. And I still have paper on my stuff. Then just go in and cut it. I like to make like sheets of them. And then I'll save the cutting for later. You can go up in there, or you don't have to do that at all. You can just completely go around. Totally up to you. I really enjoy fussy cutting. I know not everybody does. Very therapeutic, I find. But you don't have to get too fussy with them. You can make it however you'd like. And then I'm sure we'll use these at another time so that you can see. But when am I in frame? Yes. When I put these in a journal or whatever, if I want them to have a stem, I will kind of just take it from one of the middle, you know, as close to the middle as I can. Or if you wanted it kind of wonky, you could do it. I mean, really, it's endless the way that you could do it. And then I'll cut out the rest of these and we'll have them for next time when we want to do something else. So that's it, friends. First episode of Fodder Friday. Hopefully you enjoyed it and hopefully you try it out. See what you think. Let me know in the comments if you try, because I would love to know. And I'll see you next time.